Please welcome Mwende Katwiwa from Women with a Vision and Black Youth Project 100.
Good morning, y'all. That was so weak. Damn, Monica, I see what you mean. Good morning, y'all. Lord, thank you. What's going on? My name is Mwende Katwiwa, aka FreeQuency, and I work with Women with a Vision, and I organize with BYP 100 or the Black Youth Project 100. Yeah, give it up. And before I even move forward, like, give it up for queer immigrant youth. Like, y'all are so dope. I love it. I love it. As a queer Black immigrant myself, I really identified with the stories that came before us, and I'm going to talk today specifically about state violence against Black women and how that intersects with the work that I do. And I'll transition into that by noting that one of the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement was an immigrant, right? This movement was started to be inclusive of all Black people, no matter how we intersect with Blackness and where we intersect with our Blackness geographically. You can clap for that. And the other thing I want to note about the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement was that they were also queer, right? They made sure that their queerness and their womanness and all the other intersections of their Blackness were at their forefront of this organizing, even though the mainstream media will have you believe otherwise, right? The way that they have contextualized the Black Lives Matter movement is about cisgender, heterosexual men and the violence, sometimes deadly, sometimes not, that they face by white police officers. And we who organize in this movement and we who are impacted by those issues know that these issues are not that simplified. At Women with a Vision, we call ourselves reproductive justice organizers, and BYP, we're Black Lives Matter organizers, but I have been unable to find a real difference between the organizing work I do with BYP and the work I do with Women with a Vision, right? At no point have the fight for reproductive justice and the fight for Black Lives Matter been any different. One, we're fighting for the basic rights and dignity of Black people, and two, it is being led by Black women, right? Name that, honor that, and highlight that. And I say that because it is so ironic that Black women are always putting ourselves at the forefront, and we are still being erased. If I say the name Mike Brown, raise your hand if you know who that is. What about Betty Jones? Raise your hand if you know Trayvon Martin. Raise your hand if you know Maya Hall. And this is what I'm talking about. This is a room full of people who work in these issues, and we still don't even know the names of Black women who are being killed. And I'm not saying that as a call out, I'm saying that as a moment for us to recognize how much work that we have to do both internally and externally to really make sure that we are centering the stories and lives of all Black people, and specifically Black women, Black trans women, the ones that are most impacted by state violence. Last year, BYP and Women with a Vision was part of the Say Her Name campaign. And in New Orleans, we organized, we had a rally, we held it, we led it. And afterwards, we sat and we realized that we still had so much more work to do. Recently, on Lundi Gras, we had a 22-year-old Black man named Eric Harris who was murdered by the Jefferson Parish Police, the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. And in the car that they shot at was also his girlfriend. And at no point has anyone made any attempt to speak about the state violence that she faced that day, the fact that she could have been killed. And sometimes I wonder if she had been killed, if we would even know her name. And so for me, my call here today is for you all really say their names. Repeat after me: Betty Jones, Tiara Thomas, Chandra Weaver, Maya Hall, India Kager, Sandra Bland. And this piece I'm going to share with you all today was written after Sandra Bland's death, and it was written in her voice because I was really trying to figure out how to get Black women that same platform that Black deaths has seemed to be getting, knowing that visibility is not enough, right? Knowing that visibility is not all we're fighting for, but it does help us get the fight out there when people actually know what it is that we're talking about. So I dedicate this poem that I'm about to read to you all to Sandra Bland and to all the Black women victims of state violence who we have not known, who we do not know. And I hope that you all go home today and we start to know those women and we start to speak their stories, and we refuse to stop speaking them until these things stop happening to them. I keep trying to figure out how I got myself here. See, the last thing I remember, I was driving down a bland Texas highway. I admit, I switched lanes with no notice. I was smoking a cigarette, which I knew, of course, would kill me eventually. I just never imagined for the life of me, or at least the life that used to be inside of me, that it would lead to my death like this. I asked him why I was being arrested. I asked him why I was being arrested. I asked him why I was being arrested, and then I asked him 11 more times. Last year, they told me a man in Staten Island killed himself with a noose made of police officers' arms. They said he died after saying, "I can't breathe," 13 times. I guess I should have known better. Should have known not to go all broken record, not to repeat myself like history. Should have known how quick they'd be to Victor White me, how they would stop, search, and arrest me, then still have the nerve to claim I killed myself with something I smuggled in. For him, a gun. For me, a large pile of weed. They said I smoked my way into an early grave inside of one of their jail cells. That I got so high I mistook myself for a ceiling fan, fixed myself back into place in the same cage casket they found Khalif Browder's body in. But I guess I was somehow led to believe that blackness in this woman body would be different. I didn't realize the difference was in the silence about what happens to us. I got so used to hearing the names of the premature eulogies of black men blared across CNN, I forgot about the family trees missing limbs that looked like me. See, we seldom hear the funeral tears black mothers cry over the kin they birth in their own image. And I admit, I did not expect a single one of you to hear the sounds that came from my mother's throat, yet somehow in my death, she was given a megaphone mouth to mourn with. People spoke my story the moment I stopped being able to speak for myself. They marched in the streets with banners bearing my name, even though they had to Google other dead black women to hashtag beside it. And this is the place I keep trying to figure out how I got myself to. How I found a seat with my name at the tip of so many of your tongues, a seat so many of my sisters were denied when in death they were forced to stand in the same margins they knew too well in life. I mean, it had to be something different. Maybe I sang the Grim Reaper's tune in a pitch you could all hear. Maybe my voice had more baritone and you mistook me for another one of the boys and decided to care. I mean, there had to be something different about my dying, something that would make a black woman poet finally write a poem about a black woman's death, even though she had to use my voice to do it. And this is the place I keep trying to figure out how I got myself to. Because I can't shake the feeling if I could just remember what it is I did to make you all remember me, even though I died in this black hole we know as a black woman's body, then maybe there's something I could tell my sister to do that would make you all remember them.